I was 9 years old when I understood what I was for. My mother had just gotten off the phone with the electric company. We were 2 months behind. She hung up, looked at me sitting at the kitchen table doing homework, and said, "You're the smart one. You better figure out how to make something of yourself, because nobody's coming to save this family." She didn't say it mean. That was the worst part. She said it the way you'd tell someone the weather. I was 9. And I already knew she was right. My name is Serena. I'm 31 years old. I work in medical billing, have for 8 years. It's not glamorous. It's spreadsheets and insurance codes and phone calls where someone on the other end tells you that claim was denied and you have to figure out why. But I was good at it. Really good. And by the time I was 23, I was making enough money that I didn't have to think twice about buying groceries. My family noticed. My mother, my older brother, and my younger sister. 3 people. 1 apartment in Trenton, New Jersey that I'd been quietly helping pay for since I was 24. It started small, 100 here, a phone bill there. Then it became the electric bill every month. Then the car insurance. Then half the rent. Then all of it. 6 years. I kept a spreadsheet because that's what I do. Over 6 years, I put in just over $94,000 into my family's life. Not loans. Gifts. Because every time I tried to call it a loan, my mother would say, "You don't charge family." So I didn't. I told myself it was fine. I made decent money. I didn't have kids. I had a small apartment in Jersey City. Nothing special, 1 bedroom, 3rd floor, parking spot that flooded every time it rained. I had enough. I thought I had enough. Here's what I didn't have. Savings. Not real savings. I had maybe 4 months of expenses in the bank at any given time because the rest was flowing outward. Always outward, toward them. I want to be clear about something before I go any further because I've told pieces of this story to people and they always ask, "Why did you keep doing it?" And the honest answer is, because I kept thinking they would change. Because every time things were good, my mother could be really good. She'd call just to talk. She'd ask how my job was going. Actually listen when I answered. She'd make my grandmother's posal recipe and leave half of it in a container outside my door. Small things. But they felt like proof that the family I wanted was in there somewhere, just waiting. I kept funding the dream that one day they'd be grateful. That's the truth. My brother, I'll call him by what he was to me, which was the person who should have been an ally, was 34. He'd had 3 jobs in 4 years, not because he was unlucky, because he had a temper and a habit of telling managers exactly what he thought of them. My sister was 22, living at home, taking community college classes on and off. She was sweet, genuinely, but she had my mother's talent for asking for things, like the answer was already yes. The call came on a Thursday in February. My mother called me at 7:14 in the morning. I know because I looked at my phone right before I answered and thought, that's early. Something's wrong. "The pipes burst in the bathroom," she said. "Water's everywhere. We need someone to come look at it, and I don't have the money right now." I called a plumber, paid $340 on my card. I was still in my pajamas. That same week, my sister texted asking if I could cover her spring tuition deposit. $500. "I'll pay you back when I get my financial aid refund," she said. The financial aid refund came 4 months later. I never saw the $500. And my brother, he called that Friday to tell me he'd found an apartment. A real one, he said. His own place. He was finally ready to move out, get his life together. He just needed first and last month's rent and the security deposit. "How much?" I asked. $3,200. I was quiet for a second. "Serena," he said. "Come on. I'll pay you back. I get my first paycheck in 2 weeks." He just started a new job. I believed him. I transferred the money. The payback never came. I'm not telling you this to make them sound like monsters. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand the texture of it, the way it accumulated. No single ask was outrageous. Each one had a reason. Each one had a just this once. But just this once, 6 years in a row isn't once. It's a system. I had a boyfriend during part of this time. His name doesn't matter, but he told me near the end of our relationship, you know they're never going to stop, right? Not until you stop. I told him he didn't understand my family. He said, I understand exactly what I see. We broke up 3 months later. I told myself it was for other reasons. It wasn't. The thing that broke everything was not what happened to me. It was what I found out had been done to me. Last October, I lost my job. Not fired, laid off. My company restructured, eliminated my entire department, gave us 2 weeks' notice and a severance package. 6 weeks of pay. I'd been there 4 years. I cried in the parking garage for 20 minutes, then drove home and updated my resume. I was not panicking. I had some savings. I had severance. I had skills that were genuinely marketable. I gave myself a realistic timeline, 8 weeks to find something, 12 at the outside. I'd be fine. What I needed for those weeks was to not be hemorrhaging money. I called my mother the next day and told her. I said, Mom, I got laid off. I'm going to be okay, but I need to pause the financial help while I'm job searching. Rent, utilities. I can't cover those for a while. There was a silence. How long? She asked. Not are you okay? Not I'm sorry. Not what can we do? How long? I said maybe 2 months. Maybe 3. I'd let her know as soon as I landed something. Another silence. Then, you know your sister's got that deposit due. I said I knew. I said I was sorry, but I couldn't right now. My mother said, you always find a way to make things difficult. And hung up. I sat on my couch for a long time after that. I wasn't even angry yet. I was just still. Like the air had been let out of something I hadn't known was inflated. I want to tell you what happened next, but first I need to back up, because there's something I didn't know yet. Something that changes the shape of this whole story. When I was 26, I co-signed a small personal loan for my sister. She needed a laptop and some textbooks, she said. Her credit wasn't established. Mine was excellent. I built it carefully, paid everything on time, kept my utilization low. It was a $2,000 loan through a credit union. I co-signed it. What I didn't know. What I only found out when I pulled my full credit report in November, while I was job searching and being careful about every dollar, was that loan had gone 90 days delinquent 18 months earlier. My sister had stopped making payments. The credit union had tried to contact me at an old email address I hadn't used in 2 years. My credit score had dropped 110 points. I just want to let that sit for a second. 110 points. Because of a $2,000 loan my sister took out on my name and stopped paying. And nobody told me. Not my sister. Not my mother. Nobody. I called my sister first. She picked up on the second ring, which meant she didn't know I knew yet. Hey, she said like normal. I said, I just pulled my credit report. Silence. The loan, I said. I just pulled my credit report. Silence. The loan, I said. The one I co-signed for you. It's 90 days delinquent. It's been delinquent for 1.5 years. She said, I was going to tell you. I said, when? She didn't answer. I said, when credit score dropped 110 points. Do you understand what that means? I'm job searching right now. Some employers check credit. I was going to refinance my car in the spring. I can't do any of that now. She said, I've been going through a hard time. I said, I've been paying for your life for 6 years. She started crying. I let her cry for about 30 seconds. Then I said I would be calling the credit union to get my name off the account and work out a payment plan, and that I needed her to not call me until she was ready to have an adult conversation about this. I hung up. Then I called my mother to tell her what I'd found out. Not to fight, just to tell her. Because I genuinely thought she'd say something like, I didn't know, or that's not right, or at absolute minimum, I'm sorry this happened to you. She said, well, you make enough money. You'll fix it. I said, I just lost my job, Mom. She said, you'll find another one. You always land on your feet. Then she said, while I have you, the gas bill. I hung up. I didn't say anything dramatic. I didn't yell. I just pressed the red button, and set my phone face down on the table and looked out my apartment window at the parking lot below and thought about the 9-year-old at the kitchen table who'd been told no one was coming to save this family. Nobody had said it was going to be me, specifically. I'd just assumed. For 22 years, I'd assumed it was my job. I decided in that moment that it wasn't anymore. I sent 3 texts, one to my mother, one to my brother, one to my sister. All 3 said the same thing. I need some space right now. I'll reach out when I'm ready. That was it. Then I blocked all 3 numbers. I know that sounds extreme, but here's what I knew about myself. If I left the line open, I would pick up. Some 11 p.m. call about a water heater or a car payment, my mother's voice cracking just enough, and I'd be on the payment portal before I was fully awake. I knew my own patterns. Blocking them wasn't cruelty. It was self-preservation. That first week was the strangest feeling. Like being in a room where the TV has been on at full volume for years, and someone finally turns it off. Not quiet, exactly. More like you suddenly become aware of all the noise there had been. I applied for 7 jobs that week. I also called the credit union, spent 2 hours on the phone, set up a payment plan to clear the delinquent balance out of my pocket because that's what needed to happen for my credit recovery to start. $1,340 a month for 6 months, on top of everything else. 2 weeks passed. I know what you're thinking, because people always ask, how did they get through to you? I blocked the numbers. Here's the thing. I hadn't blocked email. I hadn't blocked my work email, which my mother had because sometimes I'd forwarded her documents for insurance reasons. I hadn't blocked the neighbor across the hall from their apartment, Mrs. Garvey, who was 73 and had my number for emergencies and who sent me a text saying, "Your mother asked me to let you know she's very worried about you and could you please call her?" I texted Mrs. Garvey, "I'm fine, thank you for checking. This is a family situation I'm handling." I hadn't blocked my cousin, Trisha, who was the relative I'd always been closest to. Trisha texted me and said, "Hey, your mom's been calling me every day. I'm not trying to take sides. I just want to know you're okay." I called Trisha, told her everything. She listened for 45 minutes without interrupting, which is why she's still in my life. She said they found a workaround. "What do you mean?" She said, "Your brother made a new number. He's been calling you from it." I checked my call log. 12 calls from an unknown number over 2 weeks. I'd let them go to voicemail. I hadn't listened to them. I listened to all 12 in a row. The first 4 were from my brother. Casual at first, like nothing had happened. "Hey, it's me. Call me back." Then more urgent. Then, "Mom's freaking out. You need to call her." Then, "I don't know what you think we did, but this is really selfish, Serena." That word, selfish. 6 years. $94,000. Selfish. The next 3 were from my mother. She didn't yell. She never yelled. That wasn't her style. She talked low and controlled and said things like, "I don't know what I did to deserve this, and after everything I've done for you, and you're my daughter, and you're acting like a stranger, after everything she'd done for me." I had to pause the voicemails. I made a cup of tea. I stood in my kitchen and I thought about what she'd actually done for me, honestly. She'd raised me, yes, fed me, kept a roof over my head, showed up to my high school graduation. Those were real things. I don't erase them, but I also thought about every phone call that started with a number and ended with a transfer. Every holiday where the conversation eventually turned to money. Every time I'd been sick and she'd called to ask about the electric bill in the same breath. Every time I'd said I was struggling and been told to figure it out, because I was the smart one, the capable one, the one who always landed on her feet. I finished my tea. I pressed play on voicemail number 8. My sister. She was crying. Real crying, not performance crying. "I know the difference." She said, "I know what I did was wrong. I know. I'm sorry, I should have told you. I didn't know how to tell you. And it kept getting worse, and I was scared. I'm really sorry." That one actually got to me. I won't pretend it didn't. The last 4 voicemails were from the unknown number again, my brother, and by the end he'd stopped pretending to be casual. The last message was 47 seconds long, and it was essentially a list of everything I'd ever failed at as a sister, ending with, "I hope you're happy with yourself." I deleted all 12. Over the following weeks, the messages routed through other people started to slow down. Mrs. Messages routed through other people started to slow down. Garvey texted once more, then stopped. A family friend I hadn't spoken to in 3 years called. I let it go to voicemail, heard my mother's talking points delivered in his voice, deleted it. My aunt on my mother's side sent a Facebook message that I read once and then archived. By week 6, it had gone mostly quiet. I got a job offer in week 7. Medical billing manager at a hospital network in Philadelphia. Better title, better pay, full benefits, fully remote. I accepted it on a Tuesday afternoon, sitting at my kitchen table, the same table where I used to process payment requests from my family, like it was my second job. I allowed myself a full 5 minutes of feeling good about that before I made lunch. Here is the part I haven't told many people. About 2 months into my silence, I was going through old documents. I still had a folder, physical, manila, in my filing cabinet, of every financial thing I'd ever helped my family with. Transfer receipts, the cosign paperwork, screenshots of Venmo payments, a few notes I'd written to myself about conversations. I'd kept them because I'm a medical biller. I keep records. It's reflex. I sat on my bedroom floor and went through the whole folder. It took an hour and a half. When I was done, I didn't feel angry. I'd expected anger. What I felt was something more like grief for the version of my family I'd been funding all those years. Not the real one, the one that was actually there. The one I'd imagined. The one that was going to someday look at me and say, "We couldn't have done this without you, and we know it." That family had never existed. I'd been paying for a fantasy. I took the folder to my kitchen sink, set it down, stood there for a while. Then I took it back to the filing cabinet because burning documents in a New Jersey apartment is a fire hazard, and I have renter's insurance, and I'd like to keep it. I organized the folder neatly. I labeled it. I put it in the back of the cabinet, some things you keep, not to hold over people, just so you remember clearly what was real. It's been 5 months now. I'm settled into the new job. I've been in therapy. Started 3 months ago. Every other week, a therapist named Dr. Okafor, who has the specific skill of asking one question and then waiting while you realize you've been wrong about something for a decade. It's uncomfortable. I keep going. My credit score has recovered 30 points. It'll take another year to get back to where it was. That's okay. I know what I'm working with. Trisha and I have dinner once a month. She never asks me to reconcile, never tells me I should reach out, never plays messenger. She just shows up and talks to me like a person. I didn't realize how rare that was in my family until I was outside of it. Last week, I got an email from my mother. Not a blocked number, not routed through someone else. She'd found my new work email. I read it. I read it twice. It was 3 paragraphs. The first said she missed me. The second listed several things she believed I had misunderstood about the situation. The third said she hoped I would come to my senses before it was too late. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, not even out of anger. I didn't respond because I realized, reading it, that nothing in that email was actually about me. It was about her discomfort with the silence. It was about what my absence was costing her, not about what her presence had cost me. The entire thing was written from inside the assumption that I owed her a response, that my silence was the problem that needed solving. She still doesn't see it. Maybe she never will. I've stopped waiting to find out. What I know is this. I spent 6 years trying to buy love from people who believed they were entitled to it. Not wicked people, not cartoon villains, just people who had never been asked to account for what they took because I had never stopped giving. The moment I stopped, the math became very clear. $94,000 over 6 years. And when I needed 2 months, not money, just 2 months of not being asked for anything, I got told I was making things difficult. I don't know what my family is doing now. I don't check. I have Trisha and a few work friends and Dr. Okafor every other Tuesday and a job I'm proud of and a credit score that's getting better 1 month at a time. A few weeks ago, I bought myself a dining table, real wood. not from a discount site. I picked it out, paid for it, had it delivered. I set it up on a Saturday morning with the windows open and a cup of coffee and 0 phone calls asking me for anything. I sat down at it and I ate breakfast. It was the best meal I've had in 6 years. I thought a lot about what it actually means to be the responsible one in a family. For a long time, I wore it like a badge. I was the one who figured things out, the one who didn't fall apart, the one who landed on her feet. My mother said so herself. She just never considered that landing on your feet gets a lot harder when someone keeps pulling the ground out from under you. What happened to my credit score wasn't an accident. It was the result of 100 small decisions, mine and my sister's, that accumulated over years without anyone stopping to ask if the whole arrangement was fair. I kept giving because I told myself it was love. She kept not paying because she told herself I could handle it. And my mother kept asking because she'd never once been told that the answer might be no. None of us were being intentionally cruel. We were just following a script nobody had ever thought to question. That's the part that took me longest to sit with. The people who hurt you most are often not the ones who set out to. They're the ones who simply never examined what they were doing. My brother left that voicemail calling me selfish and probably believed it completely. My mother wrote that email about coming to my senses and probably slept fine that night. Not because they're bad people at their core, but because they had spent years inside a system that worked for them. And I had never once made it stop working. Until I did. There's something nobody tells you about setting a boundary with family. The first response is almost never gratitude. It's panic. It's anger. It's 94 missed calls and messages routed through neighbors and cousins and old family friends. Because what looks like love from the outside, all that reaching out, all that desperation, is really just the system trying to correct itself. It wants the comfortable arrangement back. It wants the money, the stability, the person who always figures it out. And when that person goes quiet, the system doesn't suddenly develop empathy. It gets louder. Trisha showed me what a different kind of family looks like. Not perfect, not without her own complications, but someone who could sit across from me for 45 minutes and just listen without calculating what my pain could do for her. I hadn't realized how transactional my relationships had become until I experienced one that wasn't. Dr. Okafor asked me once what I thought I'd been trying to prove all those years. I said I didn't know. She waited. I said, maybe that I was worth keeping around, even if I had to pay for it. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she said, and what do you think now? I think I was already worth keeping around. I just spent 6 years making it too easy for people not to notice. The dining table I bought myself is still there. Every morning I sit at it with coffee and I think about that 9-year-old at the kitchen table who was told she needed to save everyone. I want to tell her, you will save yourself first. That's not selfish. That's the only way any of it ever works.